The London skyline glittered with its familiar mix of tradition and modernity as the night's biggest talk show prepared to go live. Cameras were polished, cue cards checked, and producers barked final instructions into their headsets. The evening's guest list was already the talk of the town: politicians, celebrities, and, most importantly, the Duke of Sussex himself, Prince Harry. Harry had agreed reluctantly to appear on the Jonathan Ross show. He disliked talk shows, the overdone jokes, the endless probing into his private life. But his team had insisted, "You need to show the public you're relatable. Smile, laugh, maybe talk about family. That's all." Yet Harry carried tension in his shoulders. The last few weeks had been filled with bitter headlines, commentators questioning his decisions, tabloids dissecting every move he and Meghan made. Tonight, he had promised himself, he would set the record straight. Jonathan Ross, ever the entertainer, entered the studio with his trademark grin. His show thrived on wit, sometimes crossing the line into provocation. He loved pressing guests just enough to make the audience laugh, but tonight, he saw an opportunity to go further. The ratings would soar if he could get Harry to lose his royal composure. "Ladies and gentlemen," Ross began as the applause thundered, "please welcome, the man who traded Buckingham Palace for California sunshine, the one and only, Prince Harry." The audience stood, clapping wildly. Harry walked out in a tailored suit, offering a polite smile. He shook Ross's hand and took his seat on the leather couch. At first, the conversation was light. They spoke of Harry's new projects, his charity work, his life as a father. The audience laughed when he described trying, and failing, to assemble a child's toy without reading the instructions. For a moment, Harry relaxed. But then Ross leaned forward, eyes glinting. "Harry, we have to talk about it. People say you abandoned your family. That you've disrespected the Queen. Do you feel any guilt about leaving Britain behind?" The studio grew still. Harry's jaw tightened. "Jonathan, I didn't abandon my family. I made a choice to protect my wife and children. The British press has been relentless, sometimes cruel. I will never apologize for putting my family first." Ross smirked. "But come on, isn't that just an excuse? Many think you turned your back on duty because you couldn't handle the pressure. Some say Meghan, well, dragged you away." Gasps rippled through the audience. Harry's eyes darkened. "Don't you dare reduce my decisions to some tired narrative about my wife controlling me. I'm a grown man. I chose this path." Ross chuckled nervously, but pressed further. "Still, the world loved the spare. Now you're just another celebrity in California. Isn't that a downgrade?" That was the spark. Harry leaned forward, his voice sharp. "You sit here, mocking my life, as if I don't know what sacrifice means. I served 2 tours in Afghanistan. I buried my mother while the world watched. I've endured scrutiny you can't imagine. And yet you, sitting comfortably in your chair, think you have the right to belittle me." The crowd murmured, unsure whether to clap or remain silent. Ross, sensing the tension but unwilling to retreat, pushed one step too far. "Maybe the problem isn't the press, Harry. Maybe the problem is you. Maybe you've never grown up from being the rebellious prince." The words struck like a blade. Harry stood abruptly, his chair screeching against the stage. "That's enough," he shouted, his voice echoing through the studio. "I came here to speak honestly, not to be humiliated." Producers rushed toward the stage, motioning to cut to commercial. But before the cameras switched, the audience, and millions watching live, saw Harry glare at Ross, his hands trembling with rage. "You're not interviewing me," Harry spat, "you're insulting me. And I won't sit here and let you drag my family's name through the mud." The next seconds blurred into chaos. Ross tried to lighten the mood with a joke, but it fell flat. The audience booed. Security stepped forward, not against Ross, but toward Harry, ready to escort him off stage. And then, it happened. The unthinkable. "Ladies and gentlemen," a voice from the producers' booth declared, "we'll be taking a short break." But the cameras were still rolling for a moment too long. Millions of viewers watched as Prince Harry tore off his microphone, slammed it onto the couch, and stormed off stage, his words echoing. "You'll regret this, Jonathan." The audience gasped, half in shock, half in thrill. Jonathan Ross sat frozen in his chair, realizing what had just unfolded. Prince Harry had been kicked off live TV. Backstage, the studio corridors buzzed with confusion. Producers shouted into headsets, staff scrambled to keep the show from collapsing, and security stood frozen, unsure whether to follow Harry or leave him be. The Duke of Sussex stormed down the hallway, face flushed, ripping open the greenroom door. Inside, Meghan Markle sat waiting. She had chosen not to appear on air but wanted to support her husband from behind the scenes. When she saw him slam the door shut, she knew something had gone wrong. "Harry," she asked, rising to her feet. "What happened?" He raked a hand through his hair, pacing. "He crossed the line, Meghan. He accused you of dragging me away, mocked our life, called me a failure. I couldn't sit there and let it happen." Meghan's eyes softened with both pride and concern. "You defended us. But storming off live TV, Harry, the headlines will be brutal." As if on cue, his phone buzzed relentlessly. Notifications from Twitter, news outlets, and even family members lit up the screen. Clips of the confrontation were already spreading. Some viewers applauded his courage. Others accused him of being thin-skinned, unable to handle tough questions. Meanwhile, on stage, Jonathan Ross struggled to regain control of his show. The audience was restless, whispering about what they had just witnessed. Ross tried to joke. "Well, that's one way to make an exit. I suppose tea with the royals is off my Christmas list." The audience laughed politely, but the atmosphere remained tense. Everyone knew history had just been made on live television. The media eruption. By the next morning, every newspaper splashed the story across its front page. The Daily Mail, Prince Harry erupts on live TV. The Guardian, Royal sparks fierce debate after clash with Jonathan Ross. The Times, from palace to primetime, Harry's heated exit. On social media, hashtags trended worldwide. Hashtag Harry storms off, hashtag Ross vs Royal, hashtag Team Harry. Clips of the moment racked up millions of views. Some praised Harry for standing up to what they saw as bullying. Others mocked him as overly sensitive. In Los Angeles, friends texted Meghan, "We're proud of him." In London, whispers echoed through palace walls. Even the Queen, according to insiders, was briefed on the confrontation. "Harry has always had a temper," one palace aide remarked to reporters. "But this is unprecedented." Jonathan Ross responds. The following evening, Jonathan Ross released a statement. "I regret that Prince Harry felt insulted on my show. My intent was never to belittle him or his family. Talk shows are meant to be lively and sometimes provocative, but I respect Harry's service and his sacrifices." But privately, producers were thrilled. Ratings for the episode had shattered records. The confrontation was being replayed globally. For television, controversy was gold. Harry speaks out. Days later, Prince Harry agreed to release his own statement, this time on his own terms. Sitting beside Meghan in their California home, he recorded a video message. "I walked off that stage because respect matters," Harry said calmly, looking directly into the camera. "For years, my family has endured endless criticism and false narratives. I've served my country, I've loved my family, and I've worked to protect those I care about. When someone mocks that, I won't stay silent." Meghan placed her hand on his, adding, "We can disagree with people, but we must do so with dignity. Harry and I are committed to building a future based on compassion, not cheap attacks." The video went viral, earning millions of views within hours. Supporters praised the couple's composure. Critics dismissed it as staged. The debate only grew louder. Behind closed doors, what most didn't see, however, was the toll it took on Harry. Alone at night, he replayed the confrontation in his mind. Had he done the right thing? Should he have stayed seated and fought back with words instead of walking away? Meghan reassured him. "Harry, you showed the world you won't be silenced. Sometimes, standing up means walking out." But deep down, Harry knew the battle with the media would never end. He was no longer just the spare. He had become something else entirely, a symbol of defiance against a system that thrived on spectacle. The aftermath. Weeks later, Jonathan Ross extended an olive branch. He invited Harry back for a follow-up conversation, promising respect and balance. The offer sparked another media storm. Would Harry return, or had the bridge been burned forever? Harry's response was simple: silence. He and Meghan moved forward with their projects, charity work, documentaries, and advocacy. And yet, the image of that night lingered. Prince Harry ripping off his microphone, voice trembling with fury, as he walked off stage in front of millions. For some, it was a scandal. For others, it was the moment Harry finally broke free from the royal script once and for all.